All right, let's jump right in. What if I told you we could tackle one of the world's biggest health crises, not with bigger farms, but with something, well, a billion times smaller? What if we could actually engineer our crops to be packed with nutrition using some seriously futuristic microscopic tech? That's what we're talking about today, nanotech on your plate, and the secret to creating super crops. First, I just want you to look at this number, 2 billion. Before I tell you what this is, just let that sink in for a second. That is more than the entire population of China and India combined. So what's the story here? What on earth do 2 billion people, scattered all across the globe, possibly have in common? Well, here's the thing. It's not something you can see. And honestly, that's kind of the whole problem. They all suffer from something called hidden hunger. It's this quiet, invisible epidemic that affects nearly a third of everyone on the planet. You see, it means you can have a full stomach. You can eat 3 meals a day, but your body is still literally starving for essential stuff like iron and zinc and other micronutrients. It's a crisis that hits women and children the hardest, stunting growth and wrecking immune systems.
So you gotta ask, how did we even get here? I mean, we're producing more food than at any point in human history, so how can billions of people still be malnourished? Well, it all comes down to a really weird paradox in modern farming.
It's something called the dilution effect. See, for decades, agriculture has been obsessed with one thing, yield, making things bigger, faster, more. And we got really good at it. We grew more food, but in the process, the concentration of all those vital minerals inside the food went way down. The result? The very foods that feed billions, like wheat and rice, are often way less nutritious than they were just 50 years ago. Now, for years, scientists have been trying to fix this. There's an entire field dedicated to it called biofortification, and the whole game is about reversing that dilution effect. The goal of biofortification is pretty simple, right? Just pack more good stuff into the foods people already eat every day. People have tried the obvious things, like just adding more fertilizer to the soil, but it turns out that's super inefficient. A lot of it just gets washed away by rain, never even making it to the plant. So we needed a smarter, much more targeted way to do it. And that is where our microscopic hero enters the story. Let's talk about nanotechnology, more specifically, nanofertilizers. So check out the difference here. On the left, that's your old school fertilizer. Big, clunky particles that don't dissolve well and just aren't very efficient. But on the right, that's the new stuff, nanofertilizers. These are nutrient particles that have been engineered to be unbelievably small, less than 100 nanometers. Because they're so tiny and have this huge surface area, they're basically like smart delivery drones for plant vitamins, getting the nutrients right where they need to go with insane precision.
Okay, so how does this actually work in the real world? How do you get these tiny, tiny particles from a lab bench and into the food on our plates? Let's follow the journey.
It's basically a 4-step process. First up, application. The nanoparticles are either sprayed right onto the plant's leaves or mixed into the soil. Then step 2 is uptake. The plant sucks them in, either through tiny pores on its leaves called stomata or up through its roots. Step 3, translocation. They travel through the plant's own vascular system. Think of it like an internal highway to wherever they're needed. And finally, accumulation. They get stored in the parts we actually eat, like the seeds or the fruit, fortifying the crop from the inside out. Now, there are 2 main ways to get the nanoparticles in, but one is way, way better than the other. You can put them in the soil, sure, but it's slow and not very efficient. The method that scientists are really excited about is foliar spraying, just misting the nutrients directly onto the leaves. This completely bypasses the soil and lets the plant absorb the nutrients with up to 90% efficiency. It's like giving the plant a vitamin shot directly, instead of just hoping it swallows a pill. Okay, so that's all the theory, but does it actually work? This is where things get really, really exciting, because the numbers coming out of recent studies are, and I'm not exaggerating, absolutely stunning. Let's take iron. It's one of the most common nutrient deficiencies on the entire planet. In one study, scientists treated wheat with nanoiron. The result? A 150% increase in the iron content of the wheat itself. That's more than double the iron in one of the world's most critical food sources. But hold on, because that isn't even the wildest result. Just look at this number. 43,080%. No
That is not a typo. In one mind-blowing study, that was the increase of zinc they found in tomatoes after treating them with zinc oxide nanoparticles. So what does a crazy percentage like that actually mean for you and me? Well, it could have a massive impact on our diets. Let's just break this down. A single serving of this nano-fortified rice could give a woman up to 97% of her daily iron. The fortified wheat, that could provide 76% of a man's daily zinc. This is a potential game changer for global nutrition, full stop.
Now, as incredible as these results are, this technology isn't hitting store shelves tomorrow. There are still some pretty big hurdles we've got to clear on the path to this future of food. Which brings us to the big question, right? Is nanotechnology the perfect solution? The potential is just undeniable. But the road ahead means we have to be smart and careful about some very real challenges. Okay, first and foremost, safety. We have to be absolutely sure there are no negative long-term effects on the environment or on our health. Then, there's the practical side, cost and scale. Can we make these nanoparticles cheaply enough and in huge quantities? And finally, you have the human element. You have to get approval from governments all over the world. And, just as important, you have to earn the trust of the public. And that really brings us full circle to this quote from the researchers themselves. The challenges are definitely real, but you know what? So is the potential. If we can solve these problems, nanotechnology gives us a way not just to grow more food, but to grow better food. Food that's truly nutritious for everyone. And it leaves you with a really fascinating thought. What if the biggest solution to global hunger is actually the smallest thing we can possibly imagine?